Hello and welcome aboard. On March 16 and 17, the Institute of Maritime History assisted Phoenix International under its contract with the Supervisor of Salvage, U.S. Navy, to survey the wreck of the USS Tulip for the Naval History and Heritage Command. The purpose of the survey was to take sonar and video images of the site where the Tulip lies in the Potomac, and to test the ROV and UAV equipment in an actual underwater archaeological application. It's a beautiful day here at Tall Timbers Marina where Roper is berthed, so let's go aboard. The USS Tulip was a U.S. Navy gunboat that sank with heavy loss of life in a boiler explosion in 1864. Kurt and his team arrived at Tall Timbers with a rented truck full of equipment. Kurt Newport, Charlie Capica, and Andy Yaki of Phoenix operated the ROV and AUV. Dr. George Schwartz was the NHHC archaeologist on the project. Stephanie Brown was the SUPSALV representative. IMH members Dan Lindbergh, Charlie Reed, and Dave Howe, and local resident Will Jordan operated the IMH dive boat Roper. Captain Will Gates of the pinnace Maryland Dove out of St. Mary's City also joined in the effort. It took a few hours to load all the gear onto Roper. The ROV electronics equipment, which was in this case, was very heavy and quite cumbersome. It was first rolled down the truck's ramp and onto the pier. Then it was lifted onto the boat with a 1-ton davit. The winch easily lifted the ROV and its electronics equipment on board, but that was the easy part. The rack weighs about 250 pounds, so they couldn't just pick it up and carry it in, nor could they easily take it apart and take the pieces in. So they just had to manhandle it into the pilot house. The electronics rack had to be carefully squeezed through the door of the pilot house with maybe 1/8 of an inch to spare. This took several tries. In the end, they were successful, and as you can see, it is now set up and ready to be checked out. The joystick controller and the video monitor for the ROV and the rest of the electronic control units were then set up inside the pilot house. The ROV was powered by a 220-volt current from Roper's diesel generator. After the electronics came aboard, the ROV was loaded onto Roper's after hatch. Charlie and Andy loaded the AUV on board by hand. Next, the underwater acoustic locator system was set up and temporarily put on the ROV cable. The control cable is 300 meters long. It was laid down in a figure 8 on the port side of Roper's aft deck, ready to be paid out during the mission. After everything was loaded and tested, we got underway and headed out. AUV ready and operational, check. And we are go for launch. We towed IMH's 16-foot work skiff alongside and used it as a platform to launch the AUV. It's a tricky operation to launch the AUV from a skiff, but not too bad in calm seas. And these guys are pros.
The moon will guide us as we go drifting along. Can't we sail away on a lazy daisy, paddle over the rim of the hill? Can't we sail away on a little dream and settle high on the crest of a thrill? Let's build a stairway to the stars, a lovely stairway to the stars. It would be heaven to climb to heaven with you.
And she's running hot, straight, and true. The AUV ran several pre-programmed missions and recovered excellent sonar images of the Tulip and a debris trail scattered along her likely track. Once the missions had been run, the AUV was recovered and secured in its cradle on the aft deck. The next task was to prepare the ROV for launch. That included a complete checkout of all electronic and mechanical systems, and the crew attached buoys and floats to the cable at selected distances so people on deck could see where the ROV was located. After all systems received a green light and Roper was over the site, the ROV was lowered into the water and released. The ROV was directed up Roper's port side to the Tulip site. Because of the river current, we live boated Roper during this exercise instead of anchoring. So we followed the ROV on its track, staying about 100 feet behind the second buoy on the control cable. As the ROV approached the target, it was submerged and began hunting with its forward-looking sonar. The target was soon located. Kurt used the sonar images to decide where to navigate the ROV. And the ROV began its mission to capture video images. Unfortunately, the river current stirred up the bottom sediment, and the resulting turbidity prevented the team from getting good images of the target. A few objects were seen, but the visibility was very bad, even though the ROV was flown several feet above the bottom, so the wash from its little propellers would not disturb the sediment. The gray diagonal stripe and the horizontal stripe overlaying it that you see on the screen are stationary because they are reflections of objects on Roper. After several passes over the Tulip with the same results, the ROV was brought back to Roper and hoisted on board with a davit. The final task of the mission was to hold a memorial service on the site. Kurt recited a eulogy, and tulips were thrown into the water by George to commemorate the sailors who died in the tragic sinking. The original plaque can still be seen at the cemetery in St. Inigos, Maryland.